Good evening, everyone. You know the basic anatomy of the hand very well, but today we'll focus on some key points of the functional anatomy. Hand is a functional puppet of human desire, which is controlled by the contralateral cerebral cortex. This neurological development starts inside the womb and continues after birth. Anatomical development also starts before birth, and the physiological maturation accompany it side by side. Cross-general movement initiates in the prenatal period, and the voluntary purposive reach or touch begins between 3 to 5 months of age, and most of them matures by the adolescence. There are a lot of function of the hand. However, the major function of the human hand is to manipulate objects to accomplish a goal like pinches or the thumb finger pinch, power grip or the finger palm grip, hook, push, etc. But some basic functions are vital for our daily life, and some part of the hand are very important. And arm and the forearm arms are the essential for gross movement and the strength. Wrist joint is important for the stability, and hand for the perception, fine movement, grabs, and manipulation. And the fingers are the most important part of the human body. And of them, thumb is the major player, which contributes 40 to 50% of the hand function, followed by the index and the middle finger. However, when there is no index or middle, then other two fingers contributes and plays the major role with a functional thumb. And this will be discussed more by Dr. Onus. Whereas loss of the entire hand distal to the wrist accounts for 90% loss of upper limb and 50 to 54% of the whole personal impairment. So we should put emphasis or every effort to save the hand. For this effort, we need to know the important structures of the hand. It has both the intrinsic and extrinsic muscles. The intrinsics are mostly supplied by the median and ulnar nerve. So proximal presentation of these nerves are vital for basic hand functions. For the finger palmar grip and the thumb finger pinch, FPL is important, which is an extrinsic muscle which lies deep into the forearm, and it usually avoids the injury. The wrist joint is the most important joint of the hand to preserve for the flexion, extensions, and the deviations. And the radius is the main contribution from the long bones, along with the scaphoid, lunate, and triquetral trunk. Tendons lie superficial here and most vulnerable to injury along with the nerves and the vessels. At least FDP tendons are required for a good hand function. Forearm have flexor and extensor surfaces and flexor and extensor group of muscles. The flexors are comparatively vital to preserve. Superficial muscles like pronator teres, the FCR, FCU palmaris, and the brachioradialis. So they lies a bit superficial. And the FTS belly sits some deeper to these muscles and safe in the initial blow. Here you see the FDS, where it is when it is reflected, the median and the ulnar nerves and the arteries are exposed. If the force of injury is much higher, then the FDS along with these nerves and vessels are severed, leaving the FDP, FPL, pronator, and supinators intact. just dip to the FDP, we'll find the supinators and the pronators, which are usually spared in many of the injuries. But when the fractures take place, they are at risk. So, for an optimum hand function, we should put emphasis on bony fixation, at least the radius and ulna. We have another 27 bones distal to radius and ulna. In some instances, we need to preserve an improperly functional hand following trauma. It can be sensate or insensate, but having a certain fixed position through fusion or arthrodesis. This will enable a person to perform at least some basic functions. And it will be discussed further by Julie. So our aim is to preserve or restore or return back at least these three basic functions of the human hand. At least to hold a glass of water to drink, to take his meal as minimum, and if possible, to take care of himself. So at the end, I hope we were able to reach the objectives to define a functional hand and identify the most important muscles of the hand to obtain a functional hand. Thank you. Please enjoy the rest of the webinar with us.